kids, welcome back to Roto Talk.
Hey kids, welcome back. So today we're going to do probably not a super long video. Most of mine are pretty long-winded, but this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart in a way. Through life, we try to find the ultimate everything, right? We try to find the ultimate boat that goes fast, that handles well, the ultimate woman maybe, whatever the case may be. Mine, one of my goals in this hobby slash sport, or whatever you want to call it, that we do, is finding the perfect rescue boat. And I've designed a few that I've built. I've designed a few that I haven't built. The one I liked the best was basically a forklift rescue, and it was a boat with a servo control on it that literally went underneath the failed boat and lifted up. Pulled the whole boat out of the water, and he just drove it back. The problem with that is I never built it. I designed it. It was kind of like around the same era. I designed Robo Mower, which we need to get him out again. But the problem is the boat was so huge that it wasn't really practical because you had to have such counterweight on the back that, a cracker box or a skiff that's full of water weighs like 75, 80 pounds. It's not really feasible. So I built a lot of rescue boats. So it's one of those things where there's like so many ways to do it, but no options out there unless you build them yourself that are worth a shit. And if you guys have good ideas, please let me know in the comments. I would love to try some new ones, whatever. The best rescue boat I've ever had is my rowboat. I put a stand that goes across the sides, and I go out with my rowboat and my trolling mower. I pick it up, and that's it. The kayak's probably the worst one because, again, trying to pull up a 70-pound boat full of water on a kayak with a beam that wide, it gets a little nerve-wracking when there's still ice in the water. But obviously, most people aren't fortunate enough to have, their racetrack in their front yard like I am. So most guys will bring, sport boaters anyway, will bring a boat to the water with them that's a rescue boat. So, got to be a little bit more practical than just a rowboat. And the rowboat's a pain in the ass, too, because you have to push it offshore and get, they're all a pain in the ass. So, one of the ones I dislike the most are airboats. Now, you can tell by the amount of dust on this, it hasn't been run in a while. I've owned this for 3 years or more. I bought it thinking, oh, this would be cool because I like airboats. Airboats are neat. They're fun. But they're not fun as a rescue boat. And I never run this, ever. I think I've run it about 6 times. It's set up for 4S. And I just put some more rescue decals on it. It came with machine guns and all this stupid shit, and I took all that stuff off. Actually, it's probably more fun in the snow than it is in the water. I think it's a bore. But it sucks. It really sucks for a rescue boat. This is, I think, the worst idea for a rescue boat you can do. It's squirrely, it has no power because it's a single fan. If you put a fork on the front and try to push the boat in, it sucks because there's nothing in the water. So it just doesn't turn well. Now, for little boats, electric riggers and things like that, perfectly might be fine. I don't know. But for big-ass gassers, and that's what I worry about. I don't worry about little boats. I don't run very many little boats. So... yeah, I mean, it's got headlights and everything on it. It's kind of neat. It's a neat little boat, but, more, and it's loud. Man, this thing's more annoying than my freaking gas boats are. Yeah, just really, really terrible. So, yeah, don't do that one. Now, my first rescue boats that I built, and you can see this one's got a bit of dust too. This is a Zip Kits Tugster that I 3D printed my top for, and I never bothered to clean off the trimming. Very, very simple boat. Didn't do anything fancy. They come with a different top that looks something like this. But I 3D print mine just to make them neat. And I had one that had a nitro engine in it that was just a fun little tugboat, and a couple others that were rescue boats, and that's what this is built for. This is a rescue boat. Very, very basic. This is exactly the crap you get from zip kits if you want to build a stock boat. Little brushless inrunner, little tiny, what is that thing? 18 amp, and this thing runs on a 3S. I don't even have my counterweight in there yet. And I put in a servo winch that I make, and it actually is radio controlled winch, and you have a tow buoy. This, honestly, and this needs the weights in it, I don't have any weights in it, this honestly is one of the better ideas for a rescue boat. Now, the servo is just for aesthetics. The servo winch, it's actually a waste of time because it takes so damn long to pull it in. Whatever, no big deal. So what you do is you take all this rope out. Now, if you just spool it or whatever, and this is just a 3D printed little float buoy, and it floats, okay? And you drag this with about a 15-foot lead, all right? Then you drag it around your boat. Now, if your boat's just stalled, like my skiff was the other day, so the rudder's down like it's supposed to be, she's upright. It's real easy. You just drive the boat around in a circle around it, and you basically tangle this, you catch this buoy on the hardware, usually the prop or the rudder, and then you just tow it in. It works really well. It really does. For as cheap as these little boats are, they're so easy to build. I build these in a day, a quick day. And they're very inexpensive, and they're cool. But it's very slow, And my last rescue boat that I had that was a tug like this did not have zip kits hardware. It had a Leopard 2000 kV motor, and I ran it on 4S or something. The thing just flew, which is funny because these are not hydrodynamic at all. Okay. You can see even on this one I use a real prop and a real flex shaft and everything like that. I don't use little plastic props, but because I have to have the torque, and it really punchy. And I used that rescue boat for quite some time. I used to use it on, let me put this back. I used to use it on the river in Ohio, not that particular one, but same principle, and it worked really, really well. But again, if you're upside down, the hooking bit can be a little tricky. Usually works, and towing them in full of water can take a hot minute because, again, 40, 50 pound boat full of water with a teeny tiny little tug. It does work, and it keeps your ass from going in the water, which is nice. But I digress. So the mini tug or tugster is probably my go-to, or it used to be my go-to. It's not anymore. But if you guys out there wanted to build something very economical, very easy to build, you don't have to put a ton of time into it, fairly unsinkable, okay? It's great, absolutely great, and that's what I recommend you do. 1, it's fun to build. 2, it's cheap. 3, it works. Don't worry about the servo and all for the buoy. That's stupid. Just get yourself a little cleat and just wrap up your wire, your rope. The rope I use is usually a nylon you get at the hardware store. For instance, this, nothing. And I like to use the bright colors so you can see it from a distance. Now, I got a wild hair up my ass along. Did I live here? Yes, I think it was 2 years ago. I wanted to build a twin cracker, twin engine, twin 30cc, and I did. And here's a little clip of it running in my yard. And so 60cc, give or take, of madness. And I custom made this. It was the Zip Kits flat bottom cracker, and then I put in extra rails and made it a twin, re-engineered it. And it worked really well. Real pain in the ass to dial in, and a bit much. And I ran it for a few, and then I tore it all apart, and I used the guts for other gear. It's like, I can have 2 cool boats instead of this one thing. So I took that hull and I painted it, and it's really ugly. This boat was never meant to be pretty, and it's not, but it works really, really, really well. And there's a video, I'll put the link in here if I can remember to do it, of this particular boat pulling me in a kayak. And now again, I'm 250 some odd pounds, plus the kayak's whatever it weighs, plus the drag of the water, and this thing's pulling me like I'm doing like 7 miles an hour, just flying down the road. Last year, just for testing and for fun, I pulled in my cousin's ski boat with it. So this is a model rescue boat that'll pull in a full-size ski nautique, or Mastercraft, whatever you're used to as far as ski boats go, and without a problem. So let me go grab that. Okay, as you can see from the camera, you're probably just seeing this thing. This is it. Now, it's a very strange machine. I do not expect anybody out there to build this particular rescue boat because it's very expensive. I put in a Newport Vessels trolling motor. I modified it. I cut it down so you can see the shaft up there. And this is basically a piece of PVC tubing, all right, that fits the shaft perfect. I gave it a little bit of kick, just a touch, like 3 degrees, so it pushes the nose up when you go. And the original design, the whole motor turned. It turned like a trolling motor, and it actually worked really well. But my design and my setup for the steering was really hokey, and it just didn't hold up. So I ended up putting a traditional rudder on it and just freezing this into place. Now the traditional rudder is a dual pickup, zip kits, whatever, in 2-inch standoff. But obviously you've got so much thrust with this thing, okay, that rudder ain't gonna do shit, and it didn't. It would turn, the boat just still went straight. So looks cheesy, but I just 3D printed a big wider pallet for it with a slot, put it up, filled it full of epoxy, turns like perfectly now. Hang on. All right, so these are 3D prints that I did. This actually holds a fork unit. So this can be a tow motorboat where it pulls in the boats, or it can push them in with a fork that I have. It's down in my shed by the water, but it's a bit, and these are just receivers. And that whole fork just slides in there, and it comes out to about, I don't know, like here, PVC, and it's got. And I honestly don't use it very often because it's just huge. By the time I get done, you know, it's like 6 feet long, but it works. It works really well. I don't ever use it though. This magnet is a rare earth magnet, and I know this sounds silly, but when I unbolt this top, I just put the nuts over here. That's all that's for. Another 3D printed buoy, exact same principle as the tug. This is a cabled fly fishing line. It's exceptionally strong. Okay. Then this is just a bait caster fishing reel. So I bought these 2 cleats. I could have 3D printed them, but I was at the hardware store and they had them for $3 or $4, so I just bought them. And basically put a bunch of zip ties on this bait caster, and it holds just fine. Hit the button, you know, let it drag out, and then when you want to get it back in, you just reel it in when you're done. Yeah, the servo winch is neat, but it's slow and annoying. This is much faster. Now you could put a little motor on there, spin it around, but whatever. This cleat over here, this rope is a 2,000 pound test something or other, and that's for miscellaneous. So like when I pulled the kayak behind this boat, I held onto that rope and it pulled me. So like if I did need to pull in a real boat or something, I don't know, it's there. But this is that twin cracker. So all I did was I sanded it down, and if I have pictures, I'll put it up. I filled in some holes, and that was it. You know, no big deal. Now, has a very large draft, and this is an exceptionally heavy boat. This is cast aluminum. This is a huge trolling motor. It's very strong. It's very fast. It's actually stronger than the one on my rowboat. The one on the rowboat's like a 40 pound thrust, I think, and this is a 60. And it was like $240. I mean, I don't expect anybody to build this thing. All said, this is a $300. Oh no, it's probably $350. Probably $350 rescue boat. I don't think anybody, and it's not portable whatsoever. Okay, it is very heavy. It probably weighs 45, 50 pounds. I mean, this lives down at the lake. It never comes in. I'll take it down there probably next week. It'll sit on the stand. I made a boat cover for it, somewhere around here, I don't know. And then it's got straps on the bottom. I cover it to protect it from the sun and the water, rain, whatever. And it literally sits down there with lipos in it all summer long. And when I need it, all I do is flip that switch, throw it in the water. The nice thing about it being so heavy and having such a huge, heavy keel, obviously, because this motor weighs a ton, okay, is the fact that it's untippable. It will not tip over. I mean, you'd have to have a wave 5 feet high probably, and even then, I don't know. So, how I did this, I'm going to take these nuts off. Now this cover, why is it bad? Oh, these are stainless, you're dumb. This cover is just a piece of plexiglass that I bought at the same hardware, just an Ace Hardware. Just go in there and say, hey, I want such and such. And 1/8 inch, I think, Lexan, Plexi, whatever it is. And that's it. Drill some holes. You guys can see the construction of this is not high tech by any stretch, but it works really well. Then, okay, so again, just a hokey little paint job I did. I took that seam tape that I have, this foam tape that I use on cowls I get off Amazon. I think it's on the list, in the shopping list there. I put one around the boat and one around this, and it gets 0 water in it. 0, okay? I don't know if it's because of that or just because it's so heavy the draft doesn't hurt it. There is a ton of flotation. Actually, there's flotation on the sides I forgot to put back in. The only boat I have pool noodles in. Because this thing would, I mean, the whole nose is loaded with foam. The back has some foam, not much. But trust me, this boat would probably sink if I didn't have the pool noodles in it. Now, I use a cheap-ass, what is this? Fly Sky FS GT5. It's like a $40 radio, and it gets really good range. I was actually surprised because my antenna is just sitting in here. You can see this is all hokey. My antenna is just sitting right there. No big thing. And I went all the way down to the end of the water and back, no problems. And this thing cruises. I mean, the boat itself weighs 4 pounds, and then it's all motor, right, and batteries. So what I ended up doing, I do use a separate remote always for any rescue boat I have. And the reason for that is if most radios, not all, but most radios, once you bind, and it depends on the receiver too, so don't kill me in the comments saying mine doesn't do that. Radio Links, Fly Skies, some of the Futabas, whatever. But even if you're on a separate model, it'll still turn a receiver for something else. So I like to use a separate radio because if I'm turning this boat, I don't want my gas boat turning, like, say, the opposite direction. Single servo in the back, 25 kg. I just made my own little, just jammed it in there, you know, however you want to do it. And with a 440 rod, I have no problems with it. 2 3S 5000s. Now, it wired in parallel, so it's a 10,000 milliamp battery. It does last a significant long time. I would say, I can't say how long I've done it. I've never had a power issue out on the water. And what's nice about this is since it's not a brushless ESC, this is a DC motor, remember. This is something that, and brushless motors are not. They are AC. So a DC motor for a trolling motor runs off of a battery, right? So you can't use our standard ESCs. So I bought a brushed ESC, and believe it or not, they're programmable. They're really nice. They have brakes. They have all this crap on them. I got them off Amazon. I'm going to put the links in the items for this boat in the shopping list on my Amazon. And if you guys are daring enough to do one of these, you can go ahead and do one. There was a gentleman that his name is Barry that sent me an email a while back, beginning of winter, and was very curious about this boat because he saw the video of it pulling me in the kayak. And he builds really big, from what I understand, RC sailboats. He's in a club and everything, and they need something that's like a really big rescue boat, and he wanted to know about this. I emailed him back, and he never emailed me back, so I don't know if it went to his spam. So if you're watching this, Barry, because I had asked you about some sailboat kits. But anyhow, what was I saying? So I'll put the stuff in the list. Again, it's very homemade, build as I went, and it works really, really well. My biggest concern was it was going to sink just from the weight, and it doesn't. I'm amazed. This thing has the displacement. When you put it in the water, the draft is like a normal cracker box, maybe a little bit lower, but not. It looks totally normal. But my goal with this was I wanted a boat that could live at the water. I put a boat cover over it, and it literally sits right next to our beach all summer long. And when I need to charge the batteries, I pop them out. These are hard case 3S, and I've got my bristle block tape on the bottom, and just put them right there. That's it. The ESC, I'm sorry, these are cheap. I think they're like 20 or 30 bucks. They're not much. But the problem with them is they only go up to 12 volt. At least the ones I found. I'm sure I could have found others. This is the same ESCs I use on the Robo mower, the radio-controlled riding mower. The exact same ones. They're programmable. You hook them up Bluetooth to your phone. You can do all sorts of stuff with them. It works great. Has reverse, all that shit. But it's DC. So when you take the trolling motor apart, you just cut all the wires. But this red and black are the only two you need. These are like reversing wires and things like that. Well, you don't need that because the ESC reverses the polarity for you. So, if I turn on my radio, and I turn this on, okay, 3S. There's our rudder. Check it out. Brakes, reverse, brakes. Okay, works really, really well. And it has a fail-safe. If it goes just like a regular boat, goes out of range, fail-safe kicks in, and we're good. And I literally keep the radio in the boat because it's, by the time I put the, whatchamacallit on, the boat cover on, and all that jazz, this thing, and this cover, and yeah, I could have come up with a better way for the cover maybe, you know, it's not gorgeous by any stretch. But I didn't want to open because I knew it was going to be living out in the elements, and it works really well. I literally keep the radio in there. I keep the batteries hooked up, and that is a direct kill switch. It kills the negative side, so it's like, boom, done. Never had the batteries swell, never had them blow up, nothing like that. But I would love to use a bigger battery. I'd have to get bigger ESC, and it's not worth it. This thing cruises. I mean, it goes pretty good, as you could maybe saw in the kayak video. So there's no need to go higher, and the batteries last a long time. I'm kind of cautious about it. You know, if I really use this boat a lot, which I don't, if I used it a lot, I would probably charge the batteries every 2 weeks, maybe. So it's not like a high-performance FE boat, okay? But it is a huge-ass trolling motor. So if you went with a smaller trolling motor, your batteries would last even longer, obviously. But 10,000 milliamps, it's got some guts to it. And it works really, really well. Again, very exorbitant, very reasonably expensive for a rescue boat. But it works well. It really does. As hokey as it looks, it rides on rails. It does have a little bit of pull to the right because there's so much torque on that motor. What do you expect? The boat weighs 2 pounds. It's got a cheap-ass rudder. But it turns really well, and it'll pull in any boat I own, including real ones. So that's it. So Barry, if you're out there, I did email you back, and I still am looking for a decent radio control sailboat kit that I can build for my office for display. And so if you get this and watch this, send me some links. But either way, that's it. So it is literally a flat bottom cracker box kit from Zip Kits, 98 bucks. I want to say, I can't remember exactly how much that you could probably find cheaper ones too. You do not need a fancy trolling motor for this thing. Buy one off of Craigslist for 40 bucks, to be quite honest. This thing was brand new off Amazon. It's saltwater proof, all this other crap. It doesn't need to be that fancy, okay? Buy yourself a cheap used one off of a buddy. You can probably find it for free. Now, if you can do that, now you got a cheap rescue boat. But again, it's not very portable. It's got a huge draft. I mean, look at the thing. It's like 2 feet. It's like an iceberg. The big shit's underwater, okay? So this isn't something you necessarily want to throw in your car every day and take it along with all your other gear. But in my situation, it can live down at the beach and it's fine. It sat outside all last year, all last summer, and it was perfectly fine. Brought it up this winter, hung it from the ceiling up there, and I just got her going again. Bait caster was real cheap. It's $20, something like that. Don't buy anything expensive. It's silly. But this boat has the displacement for a heavy motor like that, so it worked out really well. So I have another boat coming, a couple kits from Holland or the Netherlands, same place we got our our skiff from, and but they're little boats. One's a Thunderboat, which is going to be an electric race boat, and then the other one's just like a old man or a little kid just cruise around the pond boat. We might make that one a rescue too. I don't know. I don't even know why I got it. I just thought it looked neat. I don't usually build non-fast boats, but unless it's something like this. But it's only a 30-inch. So anyway, those are my thoughts on rescue boats. I've seen guys make rescue boats out of PVC. Looks like an erector set, and they've got quad motors on them, kind of like drones. Remember these? Okay, and they'll have 3 or 4 of those on there. They'll have differential turning. That means you fire one up, and then one for center stroke. And they looked like they worked really well. And it was basically real high. The problem with that is, though, you're not pulling in a gas boat with it. One of these you are. One of those you are. Even a hydro, sure, a little, 35-inch electric boat all day long. Something like this full of water, don't use an airboat. Unless it's got a freaking gas engine on the back. Don't even bother. And if you do have a swamp buggy that will pull them in, my God, I want to see it, because it's going to have some torque. So if you guys have any other ideas for rescue boats, I'd love to see them. I was actually going to turn my rowboat into a radio control boat and cover it and put that lift system on there, so just literally I don't even have to get in the boat. It still could happen, if I get bored enough one day. But either way, so till next time, kids, just a quick rescue boat video, and I'll show you footage this coming soon when we go and actually use them. I don't usually record my rescues, so I'll try to put some footage up, but you get the idea. She's got torque, man. You can literally sit in an inner tube and drive yourself across the lake with this boat all day long, so that's kind of neat. So until next time, kids, keep dry side up. Bye.